Noisy old people are not needed. Get out. My eldest son, Oliver, pulls my hand and pushes me out of the entrance. As soon as my husband passed away, Oliver and his wife Becky, who had expressed their desire to live together, moved back into my family home. Their offer to take care of me was just a pretext. They were really after my husband's inheritance. I had no choice but to obey Oliver, who could become violent at any moment out of fear. But even with my apologies, they wouldn't let me back into the house. I was in danger if things continued this way. On a bitterly cold winter day, having been kicked out of my house, I desperately walked to my younger son Bill's home. Upon hearing my story, Bill and his wife were outraged and proposed revenge on Oliver and Becky, and the situation began to change. I am Janet, 74 years old. My husband, who I had been with for many years, passed away a few years ago due to an illness. He suddenly collapsed from a brain hemorrhage and never woke up again. I cried all night, mourning our separation. He was a hard worker and an executive at a major company. As a result, our house was spacious, and the inheritance he left was substantial, so I wasn't worried about my future. But until now, it had just been the two of us. Living alone in the big house he built made it feel very large. At that time, my eldest son Oliver and his wife Becky suggested living together. "Mom, you're getting older, and life might get harder. Why don't we live together?" Oliver had a tough time for a while. After failing his college entrance exams, he would quickly lash out at things, and our house walls were punched through multiple times. I had also been hurt many times. Each time my younger son Bill would stand up for me, but that too became a reason for Oliver's outbursts. Then Oliver started staying away from home, moving between friends' houses. Oliver, my eldest son, who spent his time playing instead of studying, struggled to find a job. Despite many interviews, he couldn't land a job until my husband's referral helped him secure a position at a small local company. Then he started living with his wife Becky after they got married. They didn't have children, but they seemed to be doing well. Unlike Bill and his wife, Oliver didn't visit home much, so I saw him for the first time in a long time at my husband's funeral. I was thrilled that Oliver was concerned about my old age and offered to live together. I thought people change, but I was mistaken. As soon as Oliver and Becky came to my house, they started saying shocking things. "From today, I'm the boss of this house. Do as I say." Stunned by Oliver's words as he smoked, I asked, "What do you mean, boss? Aren't we a family? This isn't some kind of hierarchy." "Shut up. Where's your banking card?" "What do you need the banking card for?" "Just give it to me." He threw an ashtray full of cigarette butts at my feet. A dull sound marked the floor where it landed. Shocked by this sudden event and fearing that he would throw things at me if I didn't comply, I quickly handed over my banking card. Oliver accessed online banking with a sinister smile. "There's quite a bit. All this money is ours now." "What? Why?" "It's obvious, isn't it? We'll be taking care of you from now on, Janet. Don't you get it? Taking care of the elderly costs money. We're doing you a favor, so we deserve this much, or else we'll be at a loss." At this moment, I realized that this cohabitation was all for money. The two ignored me, discussing what they wanted while looking at the online banking. "Yeah, you get the old age pension every month, right? Hand it all over." "All of it? I can't give you all that money. The old age pension isn't even that much." "Shut up. You think you can talk back to the people taking care of you?" With that, Oliver took not only my husband's inheritance, but also my entire old age pension. I was left with no money of my own. Unable to leave this house, I was forced to continue living with them. My life became a series of hardships. Not only was I robbed of my money, but they also started making me work like a housekeeper. "Hey, isn't the laundry done yet? I'm hungry." "Sorry, but could you help out a little?" "What? You talking back to me? Should I tell Oliver? Is that what you want?" "I'm not talking back." I couldn't say anything when Oliver's name was brought up. "You just need to stay quiet and do the housework." Becky treated me like a servant, even though I hadn't done anything particularly wrong. I spent my days busily preparing meals and cleaning from early morning. Becky did nothing, just watching TV. On weekends, Oliver and Becky would start drinking from noon, relaxing in front of the TV, while I cleaned the entire house. It's great, living in such a clean house and getting money, too. Old people like her are easy to scare. They laughed loudly and crudely. I was so frustrated. Not only because I was being mistreated by Oliver and Becky, but also because my cherished house, built by my husband, was getting damaged by their careless actions. That old woman has always annoyed me, always nagging about studying, do this, do that, the way she looked at me with pity when I failed my college exams. It's like she's mocking us. Her eyes are so infuriating. That's why it's refreshing to see her scared. It really is. It's so ridiculous. Oliver and Becky's decision to live with me wasn't just about money. I was deeply disliked by my eldest son. I never pitied Oliver. I wondered how it had come to this. I questioned whether my parenting was to blame, but I had raised him with all the love I could give, and yet now he was taking his revenge on me. I was speechless and stood frozen in place. Would this harassment continue for the rest of my life? Would it be easier to join my husband sooner? I even started to think such thoughts. This slave-like existence went on for a few years. It was winter, and I couldn't go outside without a coat, but the zipper on my coat from last year was broken. I pleaded with Oliver for money to buy a new coat. Just enough for a coat. It can be cheap. Can't you give me some money? What? I don't have money for you. But I can't go shopping without a coat. Shut up. That's why there's no money. Oliver yelled. But that couldn't be true, because yesterday was the day the old age pension was paid out. There should have been a substantial amount of money deposited. Just $50, please. I begged, and Oliver clicked his tongue and stood up. He grabbed my arm and threw me out of the house. Noisy old people are not needed. Get out. Wait, please. The temperature was only 37.4 degrees Fahrenheit that day. Thrown outside without a coat, I shivered in the cold. I begged desperately, but Oliver didn't listen at all, and I heard the sound of the front door locking. Oliver, I was wrong. I don't need the coat or the money. Just let me in. I pounded on the door and screamed, but there was no response. My fingertips were numb with cold, losing all sensation. I realized that if this continued, my life might truly be in danger. With that thought, I decided to head to my younger son Bill's house. Bill is a teacher. He lived about a 15-minute walk from my house, so I thought I could make it. However, the cold was more severe than I expected, and by the time I reached his house, I couldn't stop shivering. When I rang the doorbell and Bill and his wife Ann saw my condition, they were shocked and let me in. Mom, what happened? Why are you out in the cold without a coat? I got kicked out of the house. First, have some warm coffee and relax. Ann, my younger son's wife, wrapped me in a blanket and served me warm coffee. Tears welled up in my eyes from her kindness. I had been more emotionally overwhelmed than I had realized. After I had calmed down, Bill and Ann asked me what had happened. Can I talk to you about something? I told them everything Oliver and Becky had done to me, finding comfort in their kindness. Bill, usually mild-mannered, frowned and looked serious. Mom, why didn't you talk to us about this before? I was afraid of what Oliver might do if I said anything. Mom, you call it harassment, but it's a serious crime. Yes, but there's no proof, and I don't have the money to hire a lawyer. I just have to endure it. As I said this, feeling defeated, Anne spoke up. Janet, can you leave this matter to me? Leave it to you? What do you mean? I'm a lawyer, actually. I knew Anne worked, but I hadn't known her profession. Bill and Anne had a child before marriage, and didn't have much time for family meetings or a wedding ceremony. Therefore, there weren't many chances to talk about Anne herself, and when we met, it was mostly about the grandchildren. Anne held my hand and smiled meaningfully. "We can't give up on this matter. Let's fight back." Then Bill and Anne started planning the next steps.
"Mom, please stay with us tonight."
"But won't I be a bother?"
"Don't worry about it. We're family, right?"
Bill and Anne welcomed me warmly. Their children were happy to see me, talking about school and friends, allowing me to forget about Oliver and Becky and enjoy a peaceful time. The next day, I had to return home. I was still terrified.
"We'll protect you, Mom, if anything happens."
Saying that, they even took a day off work to accompany me. Their words gave me a bit of courage, but I had to enter the house alone. My hands were trembling. "Keep the mobile phone on call and in your pocket for recording," Anne instructed. "Understood." I put the phone in my pocket as instructed and went home. When I rang the doorbell, Oliver came out.
"Wow, you're still alive?"
His words, unthinkable for a family member, hurt me. "You should have stayed away. Well, since you're back, start cooking right away. I'm hungry. Then do the laundry. It's piled up."
"Yeah, get moving and cook."
"You left and didn't come back, so chores have piled up. Useless Janet, you should just do the housework." They said, laughing crudely. Faced with Oliver and Becky's intent to treat me like a housekeeper again, I clenched my fists and spoke. "No."
"What?"
Oliver's voice dropped even lower. "I said no. I won't be pushed around by you anymore." Oliver hit the wall hard.
"You're defying me. You know what happens when you defy me, right?"
My enraged eldest son, Oliver, approached me. I stood frozen, desperately trying to control my trembling body. At that moment, a gentle hand was placed on my shoulder. Bill and his wife Anne had come to stand by my side.
"What happens if someone defies you, Oliver? What are you doing here?"
Anne comforted me by holding my shoulder. My protectors, Bill and Anne, made Oliver and Becky visibly more uncomfortable.
"Yesterday, Mom came to our house shaking with cold. We thought you were finally taking responsibility by living with her, but it turns out that you've been treating her terribly." "What? I don't want to hear that from you. Just go back." "We'll leave soon, but first, we need to take the security camera footage, Mom."
Oh, okay," I responded, still perplexed. "We have a security camera installed at the entrance. It keeps footage for 1 week, and Bill and his wife Anne wanted that data."
"Security camera? What do you need that for?"
Oliver questioned, to which Bill replied with a smile.
"We're going to sue you, Oliver." "Sue us? Cut it out. Why would you?"
"Unfortunately, your actions have legal consequences. You could be charged with threats, physical and emotional harm, among other things."
"What are you talking about? That's nonsense."
"So you're just making stuff up to scare us?" Oliver and Becky yelled, but Anne remained unfazed, pulling out her business card. "I am a lawyer, actively practicing, and I have taken on the responsibility of representing Janet in our office. We will be in touch with you from our office soon."
"A lawyer?"
"Yes, when you kicked Janet out of the house, she was freezing. She could have gotten frostbite. It could have even been a case of attempted murder. We will review all the evidence and get back to you." "But you don't have any proof, right?" Becky screamed, her face turning blue. "That's why we're taking the security camera footage. It probably captured the scene of you kicking her out."
"Good, we've retrieved the data. Let's go back and check it."
"Great, let's go home, Janet." Bill and Anne intended to take the security camera data. Oliver, agitated and frantic, scratched his head and glared.
"Just one video won't be enough evidence. You think you can sue us?"
"Of course, this isn't our only proof." Anne showed the mobile phone from her pocket, which was on a call. "I've been listening to your conversation with Janet. It's all recorded. verbal abuse, forced labor. We have evidence of all of it. We might even meet in court.
You!
Oliver raised his fist, and I instinctively cowered. However, Bill and his wife Anne remained completely unfazed.
Oliver, if you're going to be violent, we'll call the police. You okay with being arrested on the spot?
Oliver was unable to vent his anger and was just irate.
Come on, Mom, let's go home. Grab what you need.
I hurriedly gathered some essential clothes and left the house as Bill instructed. Oliver and Becky glared at me bitterly. Later, Anne consulted with her office and decided to sue them. However, it was decided not to make it a criminal case, but only to claim damages.
Are you sure? After all they did to you?
Bill wondered, but I was content just to be able to return home. The house held many memories. A few days later, Oliver and Becky appeared at the negotiation table. Anne and a senior lawyer from her firm sat beside me. We demanded that you leave the house and pay $100,000 in damages.
$100K? We can't pay that.
It's not a matter of whether you can pay. This is compensation for the pain you've caused Janet.
That's too much. It's just a family dispute.
That's right. Such troubles happen in any family, right? You're exaggerating. Family dispute? What kind of dispute involves threatening and bullying someone weaker than you? If you don't comply with the compensation, it will go to court.
Court? Fine, bring it on.
Their bravado only went so far. At the trial, Oliver and Becky showed up alone. They had consulted various lawyers, but all had refused them. That's understandable. Anne had been gathering evidence with tremendous effort. Not satisfied with just the security camera footage, she conducted interviews with neighbors, learning about Oliver's behavior. There were many accounts of him yelling, and me doing all the household chores alone. Someone had also seen the day I was kicked out, making for solid evidence. Seeing the judge's dismayed expression, Oliver and his wife must have realized they couldn't win, and suddenly apologized deeply.
Mom, I was wrong all this time. Please forgive me. We're family, right?
I'm sorry, too. Don't kick us out. We have nowhere else to go. Their sudden change of attitude only made me sigh. Did they think a simple apology would fix everything? That's impossible. How dare you say you have nowhere to go after kicking someone out? This time, I'll be the one to kick you out. Leave today.
What? You're abandoning us?
Abandoning? You're over 40, fully grown adults. You can live without me. You have jobs.
Don't say that. Our salaries are low, and we barely make ends meet. Please, at least drop the lawsuit.
They should have been content with the bare minimum. I couldn't even afford basic clothes or a coat. Did they really expect to continue their lavish lifestyle even through this lawsuit? My anger towards my selfish eldest son grew. After taking all my old age pension and savings, don't say you have no money. I want it all back, and you will pay the damages.
That's impossible. We have car loan payments from a recent purchase.
I just bought a bag. I even made plans to travel with friends. The judge and lawyers were appalled by their remarks. They had been living carelessly off someone else's money. It was the consequences of their actions, and they should pay with their earnings. You'll have to work hard.
That's too much.
Why is this happening to us? Oliver and his wife raised their voices and covered their faces with their hand, probably faking their tears. They might have wanted sympathy, but no one there sided with them. For the first time, I spoke firmly to Oliver. My hands were shaking a bit with fear, but I felt brave with my supportive people by my side. In the end, Oliver and his wife were defeated and had to pay the damages. They quickly left the house. I thought there would be more trouble, but when Anne threatened to call the police, they had no choice but to comply quietly. Finally, I was alone in my house. The thought of not having to endure any more hardships filled me with a sense of relief and liberation. Later, Oliver and his wife moved into a cheap apartment. But unable to give up their luxurious lifestyle, they quickly ran out of money. Becky tried to work, but having no previous experience, she couldn't keep even a part-time job for long. Money issues led to constant arguments, and several times they had police incidents. Becky even went to Anne's office intending to sue Oliver, but was turned away. "I don't want to defend someone who laughed while being cruel to Janet," Anne stated firmly. They likely didn't have the money to afford a lawyer anyway. I felt grateful to Bill and his wife and went to their house later to thank them. "There's not much, but would you accept this as my thanks? Without you two, I don't know where I'd be now." I had almost no money left. Oliver and his wife had taken and spent it all, and I had nothing until my next old age pension came. However, I still owned some stocks inherited from my husband. If sold, it would probably bring in close to $10,000. I wanted it to help a little with future living expenses. I handed the small stock certificate to Bill. Bill and his wife exchanged looks and then shook their head. "We don't need it. We did what we did voluntarily." "But I can't even thank you."
"If it's okay, we can visit sometimes. The kids would be happy, I think."
"Is that okay with you?"
"Of course. Our kids always loved your big backyard."
Their kindness brought tears to my eyes.
"Use that money to fix the walls. If it's not enough, we'll help too,"
Bill offered. Such kind-hearted children they are. I decided to cash in the stocks and repair the house walls. Once fixed, the house seemed to return to the happy times filled with memories of my husband and children. Since then, Bill's family started visiting once a month. My house, once a place of enduring fear, transformed into a home filled with my grandchildren's laughter. I'm sure many more happy memories will be made here. I vowed to protect this house, filled with memories of my husband.